Presentation of Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the new season of ACC basketball with two old rivals, North Carolina and NC State, back where it all began, Reynolds Coliseum here in Raleigh. As you know, the great history and tradition of the ACC got its start right here 40 seasons ago. But over the past 40 years, things have changed quite a bit.
Traditional rivals for a long time. State versus the Tar Heels from Chapel Hill. The Wolfpack winning the tap. Jotkin holds it up, trying to get the Tar Heels to come out of their zone. As a matter of fact, the deep freeze lasts for over 6 minutes. The Pack wants Carolina to come out and play, and so does the crowd. Another steal by Tyler, and State goes on to win 57-48.
Yes, things have changed. But the one constant is the fierce rivalry between the Wolfpack and the Tar Heels. They're ready to go once again as Reynolds Coliseum comes alive for the start of a new ACC season.
Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports present the best in college basketball. The Atlantic Coast Conference. Tonight's game is brought to you by Bud Dry, Nationwide Insurance, Pepsi, Nations Bank, Lowe's, Food Lion, and by USA.
Indeed, Reynolds Coliseum is rocking for the number 6 Tar Heels of North Carolina against their beloved Wolfpack of NC State. But as we join you tonight here from Raleigh, some news concerning this Wolfpack basketball program, and that's the fact that the university, just hours before the tip-off, has named academically ineligible 3 Wolfpack players, Donnie Seal and Chuck Cornegie, 2 starters, and Jamie Knox. With me tonight is Billy Packer, and Bill, some long odds for head coach Les Robinson just got a lot longer.
It really has, and I have to go back to 1988, Bob, when Bob Stack took his Wake Forest club against this Carolina team with basically Muggsy Bogues between defections, injuries, and illness. He had no players, and Les Robinson faces very similar situation. I ought to point out for you in that game, Stack's club happened to win. I don't think those odds are that way tonight.
There is a game to be played, to be sure, the Tar Heels and the Wolfpack, and we'll talk more about it when we come back to Reynolds Coliseum in just a moment. The start of the ACC season is straight ahead. We're back at Reynolds Coliseum. The Tar Heels, the Wolfpack, all set to have at it. And let's take a look at our 4 keys to the game tonight. And, Billy, they begin with the three-point shooting.
Well, obviously, NC State is going to have to rely on it. They shoot about 20 of them a game. They're probably going to have to take more than that tonight, but they're going to have to hit a higher percentage, which will be tough to do because North Carolina plays defense against the 3 very well.
And a marquee matchup inside, too, with the 2 big men, Kevin Thompson for NC State.
Well, an outstanding player. Had a great year last year, particularly against the University of North Carolina, as we can see right there. He's probably one of the most underrated big men in the country for the simple reason his team doesn't get a high-profile games. Shooting over 64%. He's the second leading percentage shooter in ACC history, so he is a quality player inside up against big odds tonight, and here's one of the reasons.
Eric Montross having another banner campaign. He just gets better and better.
He really does. I think he has the strongest set of hands in college basketball. No matter who I've seen him play against this year, he just gets the ball down inside, and they can't take it away from him. Here you can see North Carolina banging on the boards in last year's game. We'll see a lot more of that here tonight.
And revenge on the mind of the Tar Heels, too. They lost both games to the Wolfpack a year ago, looking to make amends. We'll be back with the starting of tonight's game right after this from our good friends at Bud Light. Back at Reynolds Coliseum in Raleigh, the Tar Heels and the Wolfpack. Let's take a look at our Lowe's starting lineups. First of all, for the Tar Heels of North Carolina, that great front line with Brian Reese. Great rebounder at George Lynch, the aforementioned Art Montross with Wordle and Phelps. And for the Wolfpack of NC State, a change, of course, Chuck Cornegie had the flu. He didn't expect to start today. But with his academic suspension, he's out along with Donnie Seal. So it's going to line up this way with McCauley, Davis, and Thompson, and Marshall and McCullough in the backcourt. Dean Smith, of course, the head coach of the Tar Heels, has moved up to 4th on the all-time victory list. He passed his former head coach at Kansas, Bob Allen, when the Tar Heels beat Ohio State earlier this year. 750 wins for Dean. And his opposite number for the Wolfpack, Les Robinson, who, in fact, has the best winning percentage of any ACC coach against Dean Smith. He's 3-1 against him lifetime.
Hard to believe, out of the last 7 games, the State has won 5. They're 5-5 out of the last 10. But I'll tell you what, tonight, when you consider the depth of the North Carolina team, which is one of the deepest teams they've had in recent years, and Les Robinson facing a situation with no depth whatsoever, it's interesting, with no time to prepare, if he can get his club to play some type of a tempo game here.
NC State dressing only 9 men tonight. Montross and Thompson. They go for the jump ball. John Moreau tosses it high in the air, and it comes to the hands of George Lynch. Rodel around to Reese. We'll set him up for you as we get underway. This is Phelps. Lynch being guarded by Davis.
It's solid man-to-man so far.
Phelps guarded by Bacali. Shot clock at 25.
As long as they can stay fresh, State's doing a very good job defensively, man-to-man. Tough shot.
Brian Reese gets it to drop in. His first 2 tonight. That opens the scoring.
Certainly in the starting lineup, Reese has got the best one-on-one moves of any of the Carolina players, and he can take, when the defense breaks down a little bit, he can take you one-on-one.
Well, let's see indeed, Bill, if NC State does try to work that shot clock. Carolina will have none of it. They're coming after him in the man-to-man. In and out for Lakeista McCullough. Looking inside for Montross. Thompson had it in front pretty well. They go across the lane and stuffed by Montross.
Great offensive set by North Carolina. The cross-court pass and the dump down inside. There's no way if you're trying to get in front of Montross, then all of a sudden when the ball is reversed like that, he's wide open in the post. Nothing Thompson could do about it.
NC State has relied, as Bill talked about, on the 3 corners. They turn it over here, and Carolina's running 3-on-1. Rodel to Phelps with a wide open lane.
You know, Bob, the other thing, we saw at the top of the show, the delay game, before the shot clock. Obviously no longer available in college basketball. It's the kind of thing tonight that Les Robinson, I'm sure, wishes would be put back into the rules.
First foul on Reese.
The best thing you can do is to try to say, hey, look, we're not going to take any attempts at the basket unless it's a layup before the 30, we get 30 seconds off the clock. They've got to do something to slow UNC down in this game.
Marshall, Rodel with a big size advantage, comes back to block the shot from behind. Bacali is open.
And he's been on fire from 3.
Still coming in. He's hit 10 of his last 19 and starts tonight with a 3, and the Wolfpack's on the board. Lynch kicks it out to Phelps, and he misses the 3. He has not shot well from the outside this season.
I think teams, as the year goes on, are going to give him more and more of those shots till he proves that he can hit them.
Lynch on the stick back. What a great rebound to George Lynch, averaging 10 rebounds per game this season.
He's had 4 games so far with double-doubles, had 11 of them last year, and certainly is one of the most productive players as far as consistency that North Carolina's had in a number of years.
Tar Heels by 5.
The other thing, too, Thompson being a great weapon, but if you're going to hang on to the ball, it makes it tougher for him to get open on the inside. There's really nobody on the floor big enough to set a screen for him down low.
That's a very small State operation with 3 guards. Bacali, long range. Phelps pushing it up for North Carolina.
Looking for somebody else to fill a lane for him.
The tap his own miss. Thompson clears. State has the numbers. Rodel is back. Bacali dishes to McCullough.
And there's a good example. If you're going to slow down the game a little bit, you can take advantage if you have a break. What happens a lot of times, and particularly with the North Carolina team, will sense right now that they can go with everybody on the boards. They have superior size. All of a sudden, there is not good defensive floor balance, and you can get an occasional break. McCullough took that one right to the hoop well.
McCullough, 72% at the line. for a state team, Phil, that has just absolutely struggled shooting free throws last year and this year, and coming into the game tonight, 59.5%.
You know, and we just saw and we talked about Macaulay being so strong from the outside with his threes, and on a tear, he's shooting 58% from the foul line. You know, he almost ought to step back in the three-point range and put it up. You've got to make, obviously, all your free throws in a game like this at your state. Every opportunity you have, you've got to make it. Duke found out the other night how important those free throws are in that game against Oklahoma. As did Indiana against Kentucky earlier in the week.
We're going to foul inside on the Wolfpack. And it looks like it's going to be on Thompson. It is the first on Kevin. Well, one of the things that Les Robinson and company had to work on coming into the season, replacing the 22.5 per game that Tom Gugliotta supplied this club a year ago.
Had 92 assists, 62 steals, 15 blocks. Proven to be every bit as good as people expected as the number 6 draft choice this year, and playing as well as any of those rookies in the NBA. You just don't replace that type of player.
Roller over to Phelps. The back is good. He scored 4. The Tar Heels lead it 10-4.
And they're playing right over the top of the heads of the NC State defense. And the other thing that hasn't even become a factor yet is wearing down NC State, knowing that Les Robinson has no place to go on the bench. Dean Smith now going with his first sub.
That sub will be Donald Williams when we come back. But right now, it's down on the floor here in Raleigh. 10-4 Tar Heels. We'll be back. 10-4 Tar Heels here in the early going. We talked, Bill, about the great play inside of Eric Montross.
Well, there you see Thompson doing a good job fronting him. And North Carolina reverses the ball, then sets a solid screen on Montross. Obviously, Thompson got screened beautifully that time by Lynch, and no opportunity whatsoever to go ahead and get back into the play. And there's Montross working very hard to get in front of Thompson, not to give him anything in the low post, making it really tough. A double up down there by Rodel. Thompson in for a rough evening. And knowing he's going to have to play all 40 minutes possibly, and you're looking at Salvadori and Wenstrom potentially coming in to spell Montross inside.
Tough pass to handle. NC State takes over on the turnover.
Ball was thrown before Montross really had himself established in a low post.
McCullough for 3. Just barely drew iron. And the ball out of bounds to the Wolfpack. Kevin Thompson, the senior from Winston-Salem. And ahead right now with Montross. As we mentioned, Donald Williams, the first substitute. Sophomore from nearby Garnet, averaging nearly 16 points per game. Coming on to fill that spot left vacant by Hubert Davis. McCauley loads up. Tipped and controlled by Lynch, and the size advantage is starting to tell. Long pass, though. Tar Heels turn it over.
I have a sense in this game, Bob, that North Carolina is a little over-anxious. They look out there, they realize that the state has been depleted, and they're having a hard time concentrating, just going one possession at a time. They're trying to just blow this game out every time they touch the ball.
Montross with his first foul. Boy, he and Thompson really tangled up.
Well, obviously, if you're in Carolina with the great depth you have at the center position, you wouldn't worry about fouls on Montross. But if you're NC State, I guess you'd probably like to let them have it play a little loose inside.
6'8" Marcus Wilson in the game for the Wolfpack. Replacing McCullough.
Good hustle by Davis.
Possession arrow gives it to State. The one thing, of course, you can't underestimate is the emotional factor. And Les Robinson will try to wring every inch of energy out of this Pack team. Trailing here 10-4 in the early going. But nothing's coming easy at the offensive end of the floor for the Wolfpack. Up and in.
He was 7 for 10 last year in the game against Carolina. 25. His big point production of the year. Sometimes guys have confidence against certain teams. It's amazing how that works. State packing things back in, giving up the jump shot.
And there's that man again. Ryan Reese wiggling inside for his second bucket.
Nice job by Marshall. He has to be aware of Phelps for those quick hands defensively.
Wilson drives. Montross got a piece of it. Carolina's running. And a a steal by Curtis Marshall, but Williams takes it back and misses the three.
Williams didn't have the ball in his hands and started going up for the jumper and kind of lost possession a little bit on that one. Nice switch by Montross.
Thompson. And a foul on Williams. So the Wolfpack trying to get it inside to Kevin Thompson. They haven't been overly successful here in the early moments of the game, but that time they did a nice job.
Well, Bob, you had them here earlier this year against Connecticut. And one of the things that you saw in that game, I mean, this is a young team. They're without their great leader last year, Gugliotta. And they came back in that game. They came back against Oregon State. And one of the things that I sense in this ball club right here, it does have a lot of heart. Short on talent, obviously short on depth, but it is the type of team that is going to have to be put away with good play, not just by walking out on the floor against it.
Victor Newman is in for State. Pat Sullivan has come in for the Tar Heels. And Kevin Thompson, a 52% foul shooter, is at the line. Steps up and hits his first one. And another thing, too, about Kevin, Billy, he missed practically all of November with an injury. He had to start right off the bat when the games began, is really when his season began.
Well, and you talked about, you know, the three players, the academic casualties now, and of course Brian Fagans, that's already had, you know, problems that hard to believe in his case, and then the loss of Tony Robinson in a tragic situation. So this club has had enough problems, you know, for a league, much less for a team.
Lane violation gives Thompson another opportunity. 29 in Chapel Hill against the Heels last year. Misses this one. Lynch and Montross combined to get the rebound.
There are those strong hands. Boy, he puts two on it. Good pass.
Sullivan all alone lays it in. 14-7 Tar Heels.
Hawley really a second guard being called upon to handle the ball. Foul down underneath.
This will go against Victor Newman of State.
Push Sullivan out of the way, and you know, here he was 30 feet from the basket, no opportunity to get a play. Why he'd be setting the screen or following that far away from the basket, hard to believe, but a matter of inexperience.
Number 33, Kevin Salvadori, is in for North Carolina. George Lynch is going to get a breather.
Now you have two 7-footers in the lineup, so you could see some volleyball being played on the boards right now.
Williams.
Good foul.
On the baseline. All the way through. Kicks it out to Phelps. Tar Heels looking for that good shot.
They haven't put it inside yet. State doing a good job trying to fight over the top.
Sullivan. And there's the tap, but wave it off. Salvadori's on the back.
Excellent block-out techniques by the State players, and they're giving up almost 4 inches per man down inside. Just doing a great job. And Sullivan did a nice job here, altering his shot just to get it up, and you can see what happened. McCauley got down underneath, created the block-out problem.
13-10 left first half. 14-7 Tar Heels. Williams with the hand check. That will be his second.
What Williams has to understand going up against a guy like Marshall, he's driven so low to the floor, he just needs to try to contain him, not steal the ball at all, and occupy some time with it.
Montross will get a breather. Lynch is back in. 13:05 left here in the half. 14-7 Tar Heels. Carolina has committed 6 fouls. State 2. Brian Reese comes back now for North Carolina. Pat Sullivan to the bench. The luxury that Dean Smith has, a very deep and talented team.
Dean went for a trap on the out of bounds. And Reese getting up on the boards, isn't he?
He's had his share of injuries this year. Brian Reese. Williams fires again and hits. First 2 for the Garner sophomore. 16-7 North Carolina.
Here's a better matchup for him going up against McCauley, and all he wants to do is move those feet and keep the hands out of the way. Thompson
spins to the lane, but we got a travel on Kevin.
Maybe a little frustrated, Bob. Had to touch the ball down in the low post.
Coming back in is Lakeista McCullough, and Marshall goes out. It's going to be hard for his teammates to get him the ball. Size disadvantage just about every spot on the floor at the guard position in favor of North Carolina. Reese. And the rebound to Todd Fuller, the 6'10 freshman from Charlotte. Newman. And we've got a foul call. And it's on Salvadori for a hold.
It's his second quick one. Got caught in a blockout situation just a minute or so ago.
That will put State into the 1-1.
We'll see. Salvadori comes over, tries to get position, and the problem for Salvadori is that Thompson's just so much stronger, so that when he tries to make contact, Thompson can just hold him off, and he has to push, and then therefore picks up the foul. You can see Les Robinson doing a nice job using his subs here, just trying to stay tight. Down 16-7. But realizing that there's no way that he could go with an Iron Man 5 the way Dean Smith's going to go to that bench early and often.
And, Bill, this is about the biggest team that Les can put on the floor when he's got Thompson out there at 6'11", Fuller at 6'10", and also Newman at 6'8". Kevin Thompson knocks in his free throw. Not a field goal yet, but 3 free throws.
He was just shooting 52% coming into the game from the foul line, so they look pretty soft.
Carolina leading by 7. Dante Calabria has come in for the Tar Heels, and another North Carolina turnover. Their third of the night. So we've got a timeout on the floor here in Raleigh. 11:45 left in the first half. 16-9 North Carolina. Now this from our friends at Bud Rock. 16-9 North Carolina leading here with 11:45 left in the half. And this was the scene at the State bench after the timeout was called. Look at Les Robinson encouraging his troops.
Well, I think one of the reasons that this team is playing as well as it is early on in this game is because they have a coach that's not willing to give in and throw in the towel. And the team is playing reflective of his attitude.
Well, the glass is always half full when you ask Les Robinson, that's for sure.
No question.
Fuller. Williams surveys, gives to Calabria. Salvadori.
Air ball. Second time tonight that the North Carolina player hasn't quite caught the ball before he started to shoot. The last time it was Williams that tried to take that jumper from the side. He's got to catch it before he can go up with it.
I'd like to pass along our best wishes to Jefferson Pilot's Vice President of Sales, Grady Pridgeon, back home from the hospital. Grady, we know you're watching, and from all of us, glad to have you back, and hope to see you soon. 16-9 Tar Heels. Davis back in for the Wolfpack. Marshall, a little bit of daylight.
Quick with that ball. Good reversal.
Davis, I think Reese got a finger on that one. And he brings it down.
Oh, beautiful dribble.
And puts it in.
Great crossover.
Marshall trying to penetrate. Is that something State might be able to do, is to drive the middle and kick it out, try to get an open three?
Well, without McCauley in the game right now, they've got their number 1 3-point shooter out of there, so kind of tough. Good rebound by Davis.
Couldn't get the bounce.
Oh, Fuller.
Tip in by Todd Fuller, the young man from Charlotte who was tutored by Bobby Jones in high school, the former Carolina great. Williams for 3. Donald's first. He leads the ACC, hitting 52% of his three-pointers.
Averaging almost 16 points a game as well. He can explode. He and Reese are the two fellows that can explode one-on-one with a good pass.
Lynch catches, reverses, and scores.
Now, what may be happening to the State players right now is wearing down a little bit. That's the second time in a row that Carolina's had big numbers coming down the court against them. And Marshall has to be really careful when he penetrates. There's nobody back for defensive balance.
Davis hits a 3. Now a the Tar Heels remember what he did to them last year. It's his first 3 tonight.
Of course, he's been down with injury this year as well, so their forces have really been depleted.
Calabria, too long. Williams, the 3, yes.
He's got the great stroke from the outside. Local product, as you mentioned, from Cary, North Carolina. Player of the year in North Carolina. Last year had to go ahead and earn his stripes a little bit, but he's getting more and more playing time. And I thought, surprisingly, in the Michigan game, he was the man up top with, 12 seconds to go to have the ball in his hands for that last shot and delivered for the Tar Heels.
Davis sandwich. Now Fuller's got it.
Yeah, you don't want him to have the ball against the double team. Nice job by Reese to cut down the penetration.
Thompson may have pushed off, or did it? Let's see. Nope, it's going to be on Salvadori. It'll be his 3rd. I know Kevin had the forearm to the back. I didn't know whether Steve Gordon felt that he pushed off to get position inside.
Well, he's having to because Thompson's so much stronger than he is down low. And if you're Salvador tonight, I know you're trying to fight for position defensively, but you've got to realize that be a little bit more patient because they're not able to get the ball to him inside like they normally would with their full complement of players.
Kevin takes a seat on the bench. And Kevin Thompson goes to the foul line. Kevin, 3 out of 4 tonight at the line, still, Bill, without a field goal, which underscores your point about how difficult it's been to get him the ball.
Now, this man is by far and away. There's Rodney Monroe, huh?
Yeah, man.
About the half of Fire and Ice here.
Les may just reach back and put a jersey on it.
The all-time leading scorer in NC State history. There are some great moments here. Boy, he could light it up in a hurry.
Thompson hits them both. Oh, he's been a study in concentration at the foul line tonight. 5 out of 6. Carolina by 10. Montross draws a crowd, kicks it out to Rodel, who's open. Lynch, rebound. Boy, what a great college rebounder he is.
He really is. You know, I think they overstate him at 6'8". As far as, you know, I think he's a little smaller than that, but he goes up strong. He has excellent timing. Very consistent.
Bad pass. Lynch picks it off. Rodel is out there running with him. Lynch will go to the bucket. Too strong. Henrik tries, misses, and State has the ball.
I really think in that particular case, Lynch should have thrown the ball off. Rodel had a better angle at the basket. Just a little over anxious.
McCauley. Marshall. Here's Magin open for 3. Marshall for 3. Yes. First 3 tonight for Curtis Marshall, and the Wolfpack trying to get back into it.
Back screen for Montross, and Thompson recognized the play and does a good job defensively against
Henrik Rodel. He bangs in the 3-pointer. His first hoop of the game.
What an experience he had this summer playing with the German national team in the Olympics.
Against Michael Jordan.
Against a lot of people. Great experience for that young man.
Davis. McCauley recovers. Marshall
Feels it. There's Lynch again.
And Davis on his back. First foul on Mark. 4 rebounds now for Mr. Lynch. We've got a timeout on the floor here in Raleigh with 6:51 left in the half. 31-19. Now this from Pepsi. 31-19, North Carolina. We've talked, Billy, about George Lynch and what a great nose he has for the basketball.
Well, he has a great rebound. He goes up strong with 2 hands on the offensive boards. This year against University of Michigan, which I consider probably the most talented rebounding team in the country, had 16 rebounds. Also on the road against Ohio State, had 16 rebounds. That's quite a compliment to a guy that wants that ball off the glass.
And if he repeats his rebound total of a year ago, 291, George Lynch will go down as the 3rd leading rebounder all-time in Carolina history behind Sam Perkins and Billy Cunningham. Here's a lay-in for Derek Phelps.
Good screen by Cherry. State didn't recognize, so used to worrying about the big guys on the back screens inside. There was a back screen for a guard. His hands by Fuller.
And the foul on Scott Cherry. It'll be his first. Senior paid his dues from Ballston Spa, New York. 33-19, North Carolina.
No, it's kind of interesting you mentioned Perkins and Billy Cunningham. Cunningham, of course, one of the first great leapers that came into the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now a Hall of Famer, obviously, for not only his outstanding play at North Carolina, but as a great professional as well. But he had Sam Perkins with those arms that went what seemed like all the way down to his ankles that, you know, just was able to go ahead and Spider-Man. He used to hate that comment about being Spider-Man, but it was incredible how he could go up and get the rebounds. There's that ball reversal by North Carolina, throwing cross court, looking to dump down inside. State really packing things back in. They're giving the outside shot with Donald Williams out of the game. Not really worried about the outside shot by Carolina, packing things in.
Marshall looks for an opening.
Good overplay by Cherry.
And that'll be a violation against the pack.
Nice job by Cherry that time to overplay the passing lanes. Created the turnover. I'm sure Dean Smith's going to compliment him on the way out. That's something he likes to see.
33-19. Leonard Roeder just about set to pass it in here for the Tar Heels. A ball club that was 3-5 on the road in the ACC last year. Of course, they lost here in Raleigh that we talked about. Here's Phelps. And a foul on Marshall. North Carolina has not enjoyed great success on the road in league play in the last few years. What's interesting, of course, everything has to be measured when you talk about a great program like North Carolina, but in the last 20 years, they've had a losing record on the road in conference play just 4 times, but 3 of them in the last 4 years. Here's Montrose, softly in with the hand.
Well, when you have a guy that wins almost 80% of his games wherever you play, and when you take to read the North Carolina brochure and see what Dean Smith has accomplished as a coach, the numbers are mind-boggling.
When they lose, it's news.
Yeah.
35-19. Rodel looking inside with Reese in the corner.
But again, you know, here's why a lot of that movement inside is not working. State's backed everybody inside the foul line, and they're giving up the outside jump shot. You've got to have a couple of those to keep the defense honest. See how everybody's tight inside.
Sullivan spins it in. Pass got 4. Carolina has scored 22, but it's 37 in the paint. And they've outscored State by 20 inside.
And that's with State trying to give up the outside shot and let them really backing down inside.
Victor Newman from the outside. 16-point Carolina lead.
Newman had 3,328 of those in high school points. I doubt if he'll reach that total as a college player, but that's bumping him in. See how everybody's back down inside the red. Nobody out in the area. They're still getting some layups.
And it's a charge on Rodel. First foul on the senior from Germany.
And see, nobody taking the outside shot, trying to go one dribble too far. With 10 men down in the lane, you know you're going to run into somebody down there. You've got to pull up at the foul line, take a jumper.
Coming up on Saturday, doubleheader action for you. Florida State and Wake Forest over in Winston-Salem at 1:30. And then at Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels take on the Terrapins at 4 p.m. League play beginning hot and heavy. And we saw last night Duke with a big win over Clemson. Virginia knocking off Florida State.
Well, that foul line again becoming so important. Bobby Sura going on the line with an opportunity to shoot 3 of them. You know, you talk about a cardinal sin, fouling the guy in the 3-point area when you're up by 3 in a tight ball game. But fortunately for Virginia, they got away with it.
And Cavaliers unbeaten at 8-0. Mark Davis has scored 6 here in the first half. NC State has done a good job tonight at the foul line. They've hit 7 out of 10.
You talk about unbeaten. Clemson was before last night's game as well. First team in ACC history to go undefeated in December and not get one vote in the poll.
Here's Williams outside. Donald's hit 3 3-pointers.
Well, he can stand out there all day because nobody's going to be guarding him that far away from the basket, and it really opens up the offense for North Carolina.
Marshall. Air ball. Out of bounds to North Carolina.
Good job by Reese. He came right up in Marshall's face, forced him to alter where he wanted to shoot from, had nothing left with his legs.
3:47 left here in the first half. 40-22 North Carolina. We'll be back after this word from our good friends at Budweiser. 40-22 North Carolina. Bob Rath and Billy Packer here at Reynolds Coliseum. And from a TV standpoint, a little anniversary note. 38 years ago tomorrow, January 8th, 1955, the first televised ACC game between North Carolina and Wake Forest. Will and Jim, did you do
that? Is that right? No, I didn't do nor play it. 1955 was the first one?
Yep. How about that? Here's Williams. Tipped away, and State's got it. Falling down, though, as McCullough and the Tar Heels get it back.
Oh, good save.
Thompson the rebound.
Thompson did a good job there. He just assumed the pass was going to go from Lynch to Montross. It was an excellent fake.
McCullough. And this is Victor Newman, number 32. Marshall hits it.
Well, there's what you were talking about, Bob. Little penetration to the inside, then dump out to a man on the wing for a three. Normally, it's been Marshall with the penetration. That time he was the receiver of the pass.
He's hit 2 threes here in the first half. And Lynch. And we've got a foul on the Wolfpack, and it's on Newman. Les Robinson can't believe it.
Yeah, George Lynch talking that time to Williams, realizing, hey, if the pass is not there, don't try to force it on in. Now, see, he did not have position yet, and he had to push off a little bit. I thought that was a tough call on the Wolfpack right there. Yeah, Lynch realized it. He dodged the bullet on that one.
He'll go right along with Derek Phelps. Calabria, Sullivan return. And coming in is Mark Lewis, 6'8" junior from Greensboro. Montross.
Again, North Carolina forcing some things that are not there. That was the back screen from Montross.
Williams, 4 3-pointers here in the first half. He scored 14.
Averaging 15.8, so he's almost up at his average here in the first half because he's out there just with target practice. Nobody really working hard beyond three because State's so intent on stopping the inside game.
Montross got a hand on it, but Thompson recovers. Evan forces one. And here come the Tar Heels. Southall took an extra step. I liked your point earlier, Billy, that it seems like they want to get 4 points on every possession.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a case where the spacing on the break was not real good. Sullivan didn't have an angle, so he got that quick bounce pass, and he was about 1.5 steps away from where he'd like to receive it, so he could go right on in there without the dribble.
And a whistle inside, a foul on Mark Lewis. It will be his first, and the Wolfpack turns it over once again. It will be their 8th turnover here in the first half.
Now, Lewis has been lifting some weights, but he found that Montross is a little bit strong.
Mark's a pretty big kid.
That's what I'm saying.
He's 6'8", 227, and he is dwarfed by Montross. There's Eric going to work. Tackle. Not all you can do when it gets in that low.
Well, Wilson trying to help out Thompson in that particular play and said, hey, I'm not going to give the guy the uncontested layup, which was a good move.
First foul on Marcus Wilson.
And one of the things we see, Les Robinson using a lot of people, so it's not going to be a matter of somebody getting into serious foul trouble. Les has decided to go to the bench early and often to keep up with Dean Smith's rotation pattern.
Lynch is in. Rodel is out. Montross shooting 1 and 1. 65% at the line this year. Eric leads the Tar Heels in scoring, 16.6 per game. Lewis, the rebound. Wilson hits the three.
Now, that was a good-looking jump shot right there. Excellent elevation off the ground. Good, solid stroke. Nobody underneath, so it's good that he made it.
Wilson averaged 25 a game in high school, so brings some prep credentials with it to Raleigh. The follow is good by Phelps. Derek with 8. Tar Heels lead 45-28.
Phelps under the basket. Williams did a good job getting all the way back in case State got the rebound so he could stop the break.
Montross creates the turnover. Ahead, George Lynch. Nice bounce to Montross for the monster jam.
See, there was a case where Wilson's inexperience. He didn't realize that he had backcourt responsibility. He watched the pass go on to the inside and the shot and didn't realize that there was a man running right behind him. Was his man, George Lynch. But that shot. McCullough.
He's got 3. We approach halftime, less than 30 seconds.
Carolina going for that last shot.
And to the 4 corners they go.
Good idea from Washington. Just put as much pressure on as possible. Try to pick up the 5-second count. Good play.
And Williams gets it to Sullivan, to Lynch, and a foul.
Oh, it drops. Boy, there's some strength as Wilson did a great job skying. Young man showing a lot of ability out here in a couple of sequences.
You talk about an amazing play. Donald Williams, how did he find Sullivan?
A good touch pass by Sullivan in. You can see Wilson coming all the way across the lane. He wants the basket. And let's face it, Dean Smith has had some much tougher nights coming into this arena than the one he'll have to face here tonight.
You know, he's got a losing record in Reynolds all time.
How about that? Well, it's gone up against a couple of pretty good teams over here over a period of time. Of course, during the David Thompson era, there were some of the real classic matchups.
Tipped out. Lynch has got a handle on it. Here's Cherry. The runner is good. And that'll be the half. Scott Cherry ends the first half on a big note for the Tar Heels. And they head to the locker room with a 21-point lead. And that bucket gives North Carolina its biggest lead of the half.
Well, there was the case where Wilson did not realize Lynch got behind him. A good bounce pass to Eric Montross, and he finishes it off on the break.
Halftime at Reynolds Coliseum here in Raleigh. And our halftime score, the Tar Heels 51, the Pack 30.
Tonight's ACC action is brought to you by Pepsi, Gillette, Lincoln Mercury, Food Line, and by Nationwide Insurance.
Along with Billy Packer, Bob Rathman back in Raleigh. The announcers for this game selected and compensated by Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports, and the use of this broadcast without their express permission is prohibited. Billy, the one thing that jumps off that stat sheet at halftime, Kevin Thompson in handcuffs in the first half.
Well, he only got off one shot. And Bob, what that means, obviously, is that there just is not enough firepower to shake him loose. Montross did a good job against him, but no way to get the ball down to him on the inside. Another thing that's interesting, North Carolina didn't make a free throw. They only went to the line twice, and the reason for that is they're getting the shots they want from the field.
But Thompson trying to muscle Montross. He picks up his second foul.
Big difference in rebounding totals. A lot of those on the offensive boards for North Carolina. They're leading by 12 there, 23-11. So just total domination in this game. They're shooting 60%. Too much firepower. Too many outstanding players as a team decimated by injuries and now some academic casualties.
Yes, indeed. If you're just joining us tonight and wondering, you're missing some faces. Chuck Cornegie, Donnie Seal, and Jamie Knox. There's a block. All ruled before the game tonight academically ineligible for the spring semester. And the lay-in for George Lynch.
Beautiful pass by Phelps, and then a great catch by Lynch because he was going full speed there and had to pick it up off the ground. clinch on Davis, but he's realized that he can help out on Thompson inside. So Thompson really being played by 2 men, or at least Montross is on him and shaded by everybody else.
McCauley drives, and he's fouled. Those are the players that we were talking about just a moment ago. Donnie Seal, Jamie Knox, and Chuck Cornegie. Chuck had been starting for the Wolfpack. Was not expected to play tonight because of the flu, but now he's out for the entire spring semester as McCauley hits a free throw.
And part of the cornerstone of recruiting that Les Robinson was developing here, it has put this program back on track. Now even those that he's recruited are not available.
NC State wrestling just 9 men tonight.
The lob was there. Pretty good job by Davis pulling back inside.
Derek Phelps, way off the mark.
Bob, in his particular case, he does not go straight up at the basket. He was really gliding that time with his jump shot, and that's why it's just off. He has got to learn to place his feet, go straight up in the air, and if anything, move a little bit directly towards the basket. He was gliding that time heavily to the right.
Thompson watches Montross, got the arm. 3 fouls now on Thompson. Montross at the line.
Well, if Chris Webber couldn't take him down inside and stop that power move, it's going to be pretty hard for Thompson. Even when you block Montross's shot inside, he's so strong he'll get it back and put it up on you the second time.
Eric with 8. Tar Heels by 24. Phelps came into the game hitting under 40% from the field. And Billy, your point well taken. Teams will drop off Phelps to load up inside if Derek cannot prove that he can hit that outside shot.
Well, remember again from Michigan game, he hit the one outside shot which pulled him back in contention, but then he threw up an air ball on the second one. Rodel on a reach.
23 seconds on the shot clock. They're just, John Moreau says that was just out of bounds, so no foul.
Thompson must think there are like 4 guys guarding him inside. You know what I mean?
Here's another Wolfpack turnover.
Big smart decision by Phelps that time. Didn't see anything there. Try to get an easier one and gets it back.
Great pass by Montross, but they couldn't get it to drop in. And the ball will belong to North Carolina.
Nice piece of officiating there. The referee realized he made the wrong call, checked himself, and turned it around.
Time is called. There's wet spot on the floor.
Well, I think a few coins were thrown down on the floor there.
Okay.
And that is really dangerous.
55-31.
The old floor that they had, you know, it's beautifully sanded and down here now. Remember when they went to that tartan surface in this arena and then have gone back to the good wooden floor? Really a quality playing floor right now.
Okay, this is the floor that Les wanted to bring back. He saw the tartan surface and said, hey, where's the old floor? And he said, well, it's still underneath in the shed. So they pulled it out and it really looks nice. Rodel kicks it back out into Montross.
There's that half hook.
And the foul is going to be on Montross. His second. His 3rd foul. Billy, I wanted to ask you about the development of big men, because we saw in Brad Doherty, particularly North Carolina, a kid who came to college at just 17 years old and just improved, and now he's really turned into a monster in the NBA. What about a guy like Montross? His physical development really is coming quickly.
It really is, and I think his progress from his freshman year to his sophomore year was something you could notice, but his progress now on into his junior year has put him in a position where you can't think of many low post players in the country you'd rather have than Eric Montross.
Foul was on Mark Davis. Carolina leading by 24.
Again, one of the things that is very difficult to teach are good hands, and that's one thing he has. Not only powerful, but he can catch the ball, do something with it. There was a good example. It came off. Even though he's a little bit off balance, he'll be able to get his hands on it.
4 rebounds for Eric. Lynch in a double team. And fouled
It'll be on Davis or McCauley. Davis had a piece of the ball, but he might have fouled with the body.
Second foul on Mark Davis. And to the line, George Lynch. In double figures with 10.
Well, last year, Davis had some big games, scoring up in the 20 area. As we mentioned, the 25 he had against Carolina with a big 7 for 10 of threes. He's really getting himself on track back into the lineup now. And they're really going to need him now with this club that's been so depleted.
Marshall. And Montross snares another one. Reese. Lynch. Too strong a pass, but there's Montross to retrieve. Reese. 4-3. Oh, this kid really seems to have the ability to inside and outside play.
Sure does. He and Williams are the two guys that can break things open outside the offense, as I mentioned earlier in the game. To be explosive scores. Here's the double team. Good look.
Tar Heels by 28, 16:30 left in the game. Davis. And it's going to be McCullough. And a foul on a reach-in is on Phelps.
I don't think Rodel realized that McCullough was right behind him that time. And it was really not a push as much as he didn't expect the contact.
Where'd you come from? Here's Hedrick going out of the game.
You notice how the state players, particularly Thompson, starting to look for a breath right now. Dean Smith went a lot longer before he went to the bench, almost 4 minutes here. Les Robinson has not gone to the bench yet, but he will have to shortly.
NC State has scored only 1 point here in the second half. Carolina expanding the lead.
Good switch by George Lynch.
Marshall had it knocked away, and Carolina's got it. Lynch. And a foul.
Well, there's the experience of Lynch going up against Marshall. He jumped out in that double team situation and kind of surprised Marshall. George Lynch very quick and obviously strong. Just created the turnover.
Third foul charged to Davis as Salvadori enters for Montross. And also coming in, Marcus Wilson for the pack, and Davis goes in. George Lynch is at the line. And he had an interesting game in exhibition play. Billy, he recorded the first triple-double in North Carolina history. Now, it doesn't count because it was an exhibition game, but you'd think of all the great players and all the games that somebody, somewhere, would have had a triple-double, but no. Lynch pulled it off in a game against Victoria. 10 steals, which would have been a Carolina record had it counted.
Well, you know, the stats of individual stats have never been a big part of Dean Smith's plan of attack. So
exactly.
You know, it doesn't surprise me at all that it hasn't happened.
Thompson. Strong to the bucket. His first field goal of the game.
Well, he's probably happy to see Montross out of there because he's been able to manhandle Salvadori in both ends of the floor so far. There's another case of it.
Thompson the rebound.
As Montross a little bit too strong for Thompson. Thompson too strong for Salvadori. So he's just moving him out of the way down in there.
Three-pointer for Curtis Marshall. 3 threes in the game. 61-36.
There's no quitting these kids. I mean, they're really outmanned, but they're still sticking with it. And that, if you're Dean Smith right now, it's kind of surprising. You know, you'd say Les Robinson, the guy with all the pain and headache in his game. But if you're Dean Smith, you've got your team to continue its concentration, and that's hard to do in a game like this.
Time out on the floor. 15:05 to go. Now this from our good friends at Budweiser. Doubleheader basketball coming up in conference play Saturday. The Seminoles of Florida State and Winston-Salem to meet the Deacs at 1:30, and then Chapel Hill, the venue, as the Tar Heels take on the Maryland Terrapins at 4 p.m. Big weekend of conference basketball. Billy, you'll be down in Atlanta on Sunday for Duke and Georgia Tech.
Duke-Georgia Tech game should be interesting there in the Thriller Dome. Georgia Tech, a club not deep again this year, so and neither is Duke. You know, when you come right down to it, those clubs basically playing with a Duke in the case of about a 7-8 man rotation. Georgia Tech with about 6.
Thompson picks up the loose ball and puts it in. 61-38. And on the back is Marcus Wilson.
Lynch kind of taking the younger players from State to task tonight in regard to his experience. Good body positioning. Obviously more mature in terms of his strength and knowledge of the game. And it's paying off.
Wilson got a hand on it.
I like this young man. First time I've seen him in person. He's got a lot of skills.
Freshman from Monroe. Hasn't had a great deal of playing time, Billy, but was able to work his way into the starting lineup against Oregon State in that big Wolfpack comeback. Phelps to the baseline. Williams. Yes. Donald Williams had 5 threes in that South Carolina win in Charlotte, and he's got 5 tonight, 17 points.
Well, he sees Monroe sitting over the sidelines and wants to emulate the game that he used to see. There's Lynch with another rebound. Some hit ahead.
Sullivan for the stuff.
Yeah, Sullivan did a smart thing there as well when he let the ball bounce so that he could get a little bit more room. And I think Phelps got hit he got hit before, went down earlier. He's trying to struggle back to his feet here. He took quite a shot.
Yes, he did. Derek was banged on the defensive end of the floor. Calabria comes back in, and Derek may have taken a knock to the head.
Yeah, it looks like he got it right. As a matter of fact, he's got his eyes closed right now. He's seeing double.
66-38, Tar Heels. Salvador gets a piece of it, and Reese comes up with the ball. Calabria had his pocket picked, but just momentarily. Still Carolina ball.
And nobody broke to the basket, and Calabria got caught in a situation where he tried to occupy the ball, waiting for a cutter, and nobody moved. It became the defender's advantage.
McCullough goes out, and McCauley back in. Lynch had it knocked away.
Telegraphed the pass.
McCauley penetrates.
Oh, nice shot. You know, I have on a couple of occasions talked about no quit in this team. Something else that's kind of interesting. Got a packed house tonight, which is not unusual for a Carolina State game. And these fans realize they're in for a long, long season, I would imagine. But they're really supporting this club. I think they're down, no chance to win a ball game like this, and they're still hanging in there with them.
3-point play the old-fashioned way for McCauley. He has scored 7. Here comes Todd Fuller back in the ball game.
You know, Bob, you talked about that game of the first game in 1955, you said? You know, back in those days, Everett Case used to play 20-plus home games a year in this arena. So, you didn't get him on the road except for the league game. There goes my man Wilson.
Marcus jams it in.
Hey, he can play. That kid has some skills.
You talked about the crowd, Billy. They love that one. And Marshall knocks it out of bounds.
Remember, as I said at that last timeout, the guy that's got the problem, and this may sound crazy, is Dean Smith, because in a game like this, you've got to keep concentration. You want your club to play on a higher plane than this, and it's awful hard when they realize now there's no way to lose. It's hard to focus in on the game.
13:08 remaining, and Eric Montross will come back in. And we just noticed that Derek Phelps has been taken to the Carolina locker room for some more observation.
And the thing you hope as a coach that your team can take like a 21-point lead and turn it into a 42-point lead like Duke did last night against Clemson. Otherwise, the game gets awful sloppy on your part. You can see Dean Smith going back to that starting club now, getting a lot of movement. Looking to get Montross the ball down inside.
Derek going to work. And draws the foul on Todd Fuller.
Well, did you see Lynch up there for that offensive rebound in case it was missed? I mean, he just, like all great rebounders, they assume every shot is going to be missed. And they get themselves in a position to go get it.
Lynch played his homecoming game in Roanoke back in December against Virginia Tech. They declared it George Lynch Day in Roanoke. Montross is at the line.
I heard John Wooden one time give a lecture, and Bill Walton was in the audience. Had not played for Coach Wooden in probably 15 or so years. And Coach Wooden hollered out, "What is the first rule of rebounding?" And Walton just instinctively hollered, "Assume every shot will be missed, Coach." And I sat there and almost amazed it, like he had been so well taught that even after years and years, he still responded in that way.
Eric 1 for 2 at the line, 9 points. 67-43. And Montross with the foul. His third.
Fuller showed some pretty good hands on that catch from McCauley as well.
Montross will come out with 4 fouls now, we understand. And coming in will be Salvadori. This is a point, Bill. It will bode well for Fuller, getting now a taste of the big-time competition.
Quality minutes with Montross in some foul trouble. It gives Kevin Thompson a chance to get a rest.
Todd from Charlotte and Independence High School, then over to Christian Academy when he played for Bobby Jones. Was 1 for 2 at the line. 67-44 Tar Heels.
Still playing aggressive, hard-nosed defense. Getting right out there on the ball.
Williams. Marshall with the foul. I think that's one thing, too. You talked about the state fans, that they appreciate that effort.
Oh, they've seen some great basketball. I mean, you read through the brochure, and there's more All-Americans have played on this court than and seen by more people than any place in the United States. So this is a very experienced and knowledgeable group of people here.
And one of the great history makers at state, Rodney Monroe, in the audience tonight. 2 NCAA championships for the Wolfpack and 10 ACC titles, second only to the Tar Heels.
For the first 3 ACC championships in the history of the league were won by Everett Case's clubs. So they really dominated in the early years of the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Lynch comes back in for Reese. Donald Williams has scored 18. His high water mark this year is 23. Leads the ACC in three-point percentage. Missed the foul shot. Fuller strong for the rebound. Newman. Lynch.
I think he expected some contact on that play, Bob, and when it didn't come, he overshot the basket.
And Marshall, able to find the recipient rather than turn it over, calls for the timeout. 11:47, the time remaining in the second half here in Raleigh, with the score Carolina 68 and NC State 44. We mentioned Derek Phelps out of the Tar Heel lineup. They've since taken him back to the locker room again. Here comes the screen where he got hit.
Oh, he gets a real blow to the head. Went down, tried to get back up, and as you remember, Bob, he fell back down again when he got on the other end of the floor. He came out during that last timeout, tried to sit on the bench, but just couldn't make it, so they're taking him back to the locker room.
Well, the Wolfpack turnover, they're 13th. Lynch, Salvadori. And it belongs to the Wolfpack.
Salvadori not having a good game tonight. You know, trying to press a little bit. Thompson gave him more than he could handle early on in the game, and he's had a hard time catching the ball in traffic.
Thompson's had a pretty good breather. He's back into the lineup for State. Here's a look at the numbers, and Carolina's field goal percentage has certainly dropped off. 33% in the second half.
And they're shooting 55% as a team on the year. So that just shows you how well State has been playing and how hard they've been playing, particularly against the ball.
McCauley misses the three, but we've got a foul inside.
Is that Salvadori again?
If it is, it's his fourth.
The foul is on Salvadori, number 33.
Kevin Salvadori is fourth. personal.
He's having a rough night. See, he bangs into Thompson. Thompson doesn't have to move. He just has to work so hard against a stronger player. He's pushing, using his hands and not his feet, getting in a lot of trouble.
State moves into the bonus.
Young man was third-team all-conference last year. Without any pub, without any hype, just quality, solid play.
Thompson bidding for his 11th point of the game.
He had 7 20-point-plus games last year and 10 games which he had 10 or more rebounds.
And tonight, 7 of 8 at the foul line. 52% for the year coming in. And Salvador now will go to the line. A reminder, friends, to stay tuned for the Players of the Game Award brought to you by Nations Bank. Fourth foul on Mark Davis. Salvador to the foul line. He is not scratched today. His dad, Al, played at South Carolina, later in the professional ranks in the ABA. Salvador, rough night continues.
And North Carolina did not make a free throw in the first half, only going to the line twice.
Kevin comes back to put this one in. 69-46.
I thought we'd see back here in the second half. He made 2 outstanding plays the first half. His charity. You know, in a game like this, let the guy play. Decision as to who was going to win this game was made early on. Another long bomb. Sullivan was able to go ahead and convert the last one.
Inside to Lynch. But Davis rebounds.
Seems like every time North Carolina ready to blow it even further, Open State gets it back down in that 21. Now it's under 20. Looks like the fans are almost rooting for that situation. Let's beat them in the second half.
69-50. This is as close as the pack has been in quite some time. Sullivan gets it back to 21.
Good feed by Calabria. Realized that he had a teammate with a better shot.
Pat Sullivan with 8. And the whistle stops play. And this one will be against Kevin Thompson. Pushing against Salvador that time. His 4th foul. So both he and Davis now for the pack with 4 personals. Meanwhile, changes. Curtis Marshall comes in for State. And Matt Wenstrom will come in when time allows for the Tar Heels along with Henry Grover.
I think he's coming in for Salvadori. Salvadori on the line, obviously going to keep him out of there.
Boy, if you know your subs on the bench, you hit the first free throw, miss the second, they can play a little longer.
Guarantee it. And the one thing you don't want to do is to look over, as Salvadori just did. You don't want to look over and see that somebody's replacing you because your mind is just not concentrating on what's at hand, which is really concentrating on hitting that free throw. There he dropped it. Drained that one.
And the senior from Houston, Matt Wenstrom.
Salvador last year, the #2 shot blocker in the league. Not having that kind of night tonight.
So Kevin gets them both and goes out in favor of Matt Wenstrom. Salvador and Montross each with 4 fouls. We mentioned Thompson and Davis for the Wolfpack. Under 10 to play.
Good quickness by McCullough getting that ball up the court.
McCullough. Strong looking jump shot. He made up his mind he was going to shoot.
He came up the court very positively before he dished off, so he picked it right up on the jump shot. Set his mind to it. Boy, Lynch wanted down inside. He just feels that he can score at will.
Georgia scored 15 tonight. That's his average. Wilson and it knocked away. Lynch up to Rodel. Here come the Tar Heels.
See, McCullough just stood still that time, Bob. If he had moved down and created a passing lane for Wilson, as opposed to standing still, there wouldn't have been that opportunity to steal the pass. And Wilson was waiting for him to move.
Do some debris out at midcourt. Referee Donnie Gray is going to take care of it. And the Wolfpack will bring it up. State at home on Saturday. They'll take on Virginia here Saturday night.
North Carolina goes to his zone for the first time tonight. Kind of an interesting move on their part. See if McCullough or Marshall get themselves open for a three.
Instead, it's Wilson from the baseline. Freshman from Monroe.
Maybe he plays better in the games than he does in practice, because when you look at him, you find it hard to believe that this young man's not moving himself into the starting lineup full time.
Just picked up his 4th foul. He had 10 in the Princeton game, which
it's like having 30.
I was going to say, that's about 25% of their offense.
I mean, if you're going to play Princeton and say, hey, I had 10 against Princeton, that's like having 30 against Oklahoma. But you're only going to be in a 40-point game.
Salvadori back in as Brian Reese goes to the foul line. Had his career high last January against the Wolfpack, scoring 22. He's got double figures for the 7th time this season. At 19 opening night against Old Dominion. Junior from the box. Had been slowed by asthma with medication, training, hoping to overcome that little setback. He's got 11 tonight. 77-54.
It looks like Dean Smith abandoned that zone idea in a hurry. He came down the floor one time, now back to a little bit more pressure. Man-to-man.
Marshall missing, and fouling out of the game is Marcus Wilson.
Marcus Wilson, number 25.
So the first-year man from Monroe will go to the bench, but had a few cameo shots in this game. Scored 7.
You can see from the weak side, George Lynch blocking out. Wilson comes right over his back. Shows an awful lot of ability. That young man's going to he's going to do all right for himself here at NC State. Just needs a little bit more help.
Solis Robinson will bring the Jim McCauley back in. Meanwhile, Mr. Lynch is at the line. 15 points and 8 rebounds tonight for George. Trying to reach that 5th double-double of the game. Montross for Wenstrom.
When you're Kevin Thompson, you say, wait a second. I've seen 3 post players tonight. You know, obviously he knows that North Carolina has him, but just when you're starting to get a breather and you figure, well, that was down to Wenstrom. Maybe I'm through with Montross for the rest of the night. He walks out here. Not only does he walk out there, he walks out fresh.
And they're redshirting another one. Serge Zwicker, right. Another 7-footer.
Good dish by McCauley. Marshall's got to be ready to shoot that.
Marshall controlling. Open is McCauley for 3. The Gin with 12 points, his second 3-pointer.
Calabria didn't realize nobody was guarding him. He was wide open under the basket.
Lynch puts it in. He's got 19.
And he looks at the film of that one. He said, well, why didn't I just lay up the ball? He kept right on dribbling by the ball. Basket.
And it's out of bounds to the Tar Heels. So 7:14 left here in Raleigh, 81-57. We'll be back with more right after this from our good friends from Budweiser.
Timeout. A reminder that it is unlawful.
It's time now for the Pizza Hut delivery of the game. And look at this delivery from Lynch to Montross.
Excellent bounce pass on the semi-break. And what's really impressive at Montross, the center, who was all the way down 90 feet away before that play developed, hustled his way down to get the 2 points. Maybe the best delivery tonight, of course, was the wrong kind. It was then that piece of crust came out onto the floor. Probably wanted the referee to make sure he got a little piece. Rather have it delivered in a box, wouldn't you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Calabria, Montrose. Tar Heels have been in control as Reese misses the three.
Oh, there's Lynch again. What a rebound.
Puts it in.
That's a sensational rebound there. Because he was up against Thompson and just went up. Got excellent position, went up underneath the ball with two hands. Great play.
Davis. And it's out of bounds to the Tar Heels. You watch a guy like George Lynch, and all of a sudden he seems to be in the right spot, right time, nose for the ball, and gets more than his share of offensive rebounds.
Well, I think he rebounds first with his feet. He gets himself underneath the basketball with good positioning, and then has his body in a position to go up right underneath the basketball. A lot of guys are reaching with their hands, and that's why he's so powerful at the top of that league. Becoming the Dennis Rodman of the ACC here so far tonight.
Calabria missing. Marshall pushes it ahead. I think back to a guy who played in this league, Buck Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Terrific.
Same type of guy. Yeah, moved those feet, got up underneath the ball. Still does it in the NBA.
6 minutes to go in the game.
McCauley getting out on Donald Williams now. Williams looking for another one of those jump shots. McCauley falling like a shadow.
And a foul on Fuller.
You know, another thing in regard to the teaching aspects of this particular game on Les Robinson, you notice how few backdoor cuts North Carolina has had tonight. Despite the overplaying, the state kids have done a good job of fighting off those easy layups on the backdoor cut. So a well-drilled team, just not athletically tough enough or talented enough to stay with Carolina.
Scott Cherry coming back in for the Tar Heels. And Calabria will go out. And a nice bucket in the first half from Scott.
And Cherry didn't get in many minutes in the first half. Matter of fact, I doubt if he got in more than two, but made two fine plays, one on the defensive end of the floor and one on the offensive end with that good driving layup near the end of the half. Let's see what he can do now.
Williams has had 5 of 6 3-pointers tonight. And for the 4th time this year, hits the 20-point plateau.
It's a quiet 20, isn't it?
It sure has been.
I mean, you know, he's been moving in and out, rotating. And... Oh, good help by Lynch. How about that? And Thompson did a good job going back up to the putback, but Lynch was just right over him.
Point out, still trying to maintain that concentration, run the offense. Still.
Right. So there was Lynch trying to get the backdoor cut. Davis did a good job reacting.
And State comes up with the turnover.
Cherry throws one away. I'm trying to get him into the game, and he throws one away on him.
North Carolina looking forward to the Maryland Terrapins. They open the home season at the Smith Center Saturday afternoon. We'll have that one for you at 4. Right after the Florida State Wake Forest game. With the hook.
Not much Thompson could do with that one. And North Carolina's had 1 year out of the last 22 they've shot under 50%, and that year it was 49.8 or something like that, and it looks like it's going to continue again this year. And you know, when the three-point play has come in, you figure that would knock that percentage down a little bit, but it hasn't affected them, primarily because they stick with this offensive concept.
Williams driving, scooping, hitting, and a foul on Davis.
Kid can score.
So Mark Davis out of the ball game with 5 fouls, and Donald Williams now with 22.
And what Donald Williams is learning, and what last year was his transformation from a high school prolific scorer to a scorer that can now score within the concept of Dean Smith's offense. And I think that's a big transition to make. And Hubert Davis, of course, one of those kind of guys that developed within the offense and then became a top-notch scorer. Williams will do likewise.
How about a guy that we see sitting in the stands, Rodney Monroe? Do you see some of that in Williams?
Well, I
Different type of
I think that they have a lot of the same skills in regard to that great outside shot and ability to score on the drive. But Monroe played in an entirely different type of offensive set.
Yeah.
You know, Corsiani with the great penetration, then setting up Rodney in the one-on-one situations. Donald will not get in many one-on-one situations in the North Carolina offense. But now what he's learning how to do is to take those good offensive moves and that shooting touch and work it inside the offense so that the whole team is developing. It's going to be a big score for them.
57. Just under 4 minutes to go. The most points the Tar Heels have ever scored in this building, 101. And Bacali will shoot.
Well, the scores have been in the 90s since Les Robinson came over here. Both clubs getting up in the 90s. As we know, we had that game last year, and Gugliotta played one of the finest individual games that I've ever seen in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And that big win that State had. You know what else I think was interesting about that is we saw the great game that they had, and then they went on a 9-game losing streak, only to break the streak when they went back and played at Chapel Hill. I mean, I don't know of anybody that ever went into Chapel Hill with a 9-game losing streak to break it. I mean, not the kind of place you think about changing your fortunes over there.
Exactly.
I know a lot of people went in there with 9-game winning streaks and didn't come out.
That's right. And a foul, and it's going to be on Newman. They had the double team set, but Newman reached in.
Well, that's a situation if you have the double team, the other guys really have to overplay the passing lanes, and Calabria showed some pretty good patience there, realizing he was being double teamed to draw the foul. His dad was an outstanding player, played for the University of Iowa. Played for Sean Miller's father.
Yeah, John was his coach at Blackhawk High School. The kid's got a little moxie to him. I think you'll see as time goes on. John Moreau trying to get a problem situated at the scorer's table. Everything looks to be okay over there. Mr. Calabria goes to the line. And his first free throw as a collegiate is good.
You can have a lot of moxie from that particular area, but you'll never beat the guy who preceded them from that hometown. Do you know who that was?
From Beaver Falls?
Beaver Falls. One of the great quarterbacks in the history of the game.
Mr. Namath.
That's right, Joe Namath.
Yeah, I would say he set the path pretty early.
Yeah, I don't think that's one that you try to whip in that particular category.
Bacali for 3, missing. And all alone, Lewis lays it in.
Well, Sullivan's been breaking long. That's the third one tonight. Didn't get the pass. State double teaming, still hustling. That should not be backcourt. It was touched by State.
Lewis has it. Long bounce for Marshall. He'll take the 3. But Jim saves it in the corner. Oh, pass to Lewis and a foul.
That could be 5 for Salvadori. When he looks at this stat sheet tonight, for the minutes played, he picked up 5 quick ones.
So Kevin is out of there. But take a look at this pass.
Bacali looks all the way across the lane and hooks it under there. It looked like one of those soccer shots from the corner kick. The corner kick. The reverse corner kick, as the English was coming from left back to right.
And Mark Lewis will be shooting 2.
2 shots for Mark Lewis. Young man went to Page High School in Greensboro, but born and raised in Alabama. Big Crimson Tide fan. I'm sure he was happy about the football outcome.
State champs in high school and basketball. It looks like he'd be better suited to be a tight end, doesn't he?
Yeah. 2:45 left here in Raleigh. 92-62 Tar Heels. We'll be back in just a moment. A look at the Tar Heel bench. Everything's going swimmingly for the Tar Heels. 92-62 and 2:45 remaining. Into the ball game is Ed Geff, number 40, right there with the ball for the Tar Heels. And Wenstrom also, Larry Davis, number 4, is in the game for North Carolina.
An excellent pass. The problem was it went to a fellow on the opposing team.
Mark Lewis was 6.
If you're Carolina, you don't want Wenstrom being the guy responsible for beating the beating the press in the back court.
Davis puts it in. Freshman from South Carolina. Travis Stevenson, number 35, is also into the Tar Heel lineup.
Now Davis is another one, much as we mentioned about Williams, that will have to learn how to take his individual game and put it in his team concept. It shows a lot of skill he did on that shot.
McCauley gets his own miss.
Right there.
And a blocking foul.
Geff never got there. McCauley turned the corner on him.
Here's the Pepsi game summary. Of course, the big story of this ball game, really, before we ever got started with NC State's 3 players, Carnegie, Seal, and Knox, being declared ineligible. Academics for the first semester. Carolina just had its way inside all night long. And George Lynch, a big reason why. 21 points and 14 rebounds.
Well, that's his 5th double-double of the year. As I mentioned earlier in the show, 10 last year, so he looks like he's on target to at least match, if not beat that record.
Davis.
See, there's the individual ability. You can see it. Quick off his feet.
The 91 South Carolina High School Player of the Year, Larry Davis. Came out of Denmark Olar High School in South Carolina, then played for Fletcher Harrod at Fort Union.
A school that's turned out a lot of outstanding basketball players. About the only thing that there's a question mark here is Derek Phelps has not returned, Bob, back to the bench. He tried to come back to the bench, sat there and just put his head down in his hands. Looked like he's either got a very severe headache or he's seeing double. And they took him back to the locker room and he stayed there the rest of the time.
Well, he really took a shot, and a lot of these Tar Heels have really suffered with the injury problems. Reese in particular has had all sorts of problems this year. And now Derek Phelps this time early in the season.
Nice job by Stevenson. Help out defensively.
I got man up. I got man up.
96-65. Lewis will go to the line as Geff picks up his 2nd foul.
The foul is on Geff, number 40, his 2nd.
Well, you know, one of the things, Bob, I think is very obvious from this game tonight. I mean, we're talking about some haves and some have-nots. For Les Robinson, a matter of, you know, bringing the forces back. But they're going to have a very difficult time as this season progresses in terms of breaking through on any games in the Atlantic Coast Conference. We saw last night a Virginia team that's still undefeated. Looks like, you know, there are going to be some guys fighting at the North Carolina Duke situation. Who gets to that upper echelon? We thought it would be Florida State. So far, they haven't shown it, but they certainly have the personnel to do that. Virginia, Georgia Tech, playing extremely well right now. Maryland with a young team. I think they're going to get better and better as the year goes on. So it should be an interesting campaign, but for NC State, I think it's going to be a very long winter.
Here's our Nation's Bank players of the game. We mentioned Mr. Lynch, 9 rebounds, 21 points, they tell us now officially. But Jim McCauley had 14 points for the Wolfpack, our player of the game for NC State. You know, if Lynch ends up with 9 rebounds, it'll be the 4th time this year, Billy, he's had 9 rebounds. So he was really close to adding 4 more double-doubles.
He's got to start treating that scorekeeper a little better.
That's right. 98-67. Newman. Tipped out to Mark. Tipped up a couple of times, and Cherry's got it. Tar Heels come ahead. Here's Davis. And it's going to be
Wenstrom touched it.
I think that might have dropped in for Davis.
Wenstrom got a hand on it. Now, you have to think about a couple of things here. It made no sense to touch that one at all. There was a foul on the play. But he was hustling. Not thinking, but hustling.
Davis missing the foul shot. 4 points off the bench for this freshman. Tar Heels will be 11-1. 1-0 in the ACC. Maryland at home on Saturday. Wolfpack will drop to 3-5 and 0-1. They've got the Cavaliers coming in here Saturday night. Over the glass, and that'll give it to North Carolina.
Well, Bobby, you mentioned about North Carolina. What, 101 did you say, or 103?
101 is the most they've ever scored against State.
Well, they would have been in a position had those 2 free throws gone in to bust that.
Cherry.
Nice feed.
Yes, lays it in.
Well, they're still in a position because State's been eager to throw it up.
23 seconds to play. Marshall's in trouble.
It could happen. It could happen right here.
Here's Stevenson. Underneath. Davis. No. Lundstrom kept alive. Geth lost it. And it's going to belong to the Tar Heels with 6 seconds to go.
Now the drama continues. 6 seconds to go. Will they get 102?
That came in the 71-72 season. Carolina beat State 101-78. Outside it goes. Cherry missing the 3.
Oh, did you see Davis get up?
And the horn sounds, ending the game here in Raleigh. The final score here at Reynolds Coliseum tonight: North Carolina 100, NC State 67. We'll be back.
Tonight's ACC action has been brought to you by Nations Bank, U.S. Air, Pepsi, Buick, Budweiser, and by the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company.
The final score, 100-67, North Carolina over NC State.